Have you ever looked up at a stormy sky, felt the rumble of thunder, and wondered if there was something more to it? Not just a weather pattern, but a message. In the rich tapestry of indigenous American folklore, the thunder is not just noise, and the rain is not just water. It is the voice and the tears of a powerful, magnificent being, the Thunderbird. Today, we journey into a story that has been whispered on the wind for generations, a legend that speaks of sorrow, healing, and the profound connection between the spirit world and our own. This is the story of the tears of the Thunderbird. Imagine a time when the earth was young, a time when humanity lived in delicate harmony with nature. The rivers ran clean and strong, the forests were lush and teeming with life, and the great plains stretched out like a sea of green under the vast open sky. Above it all soared the Thunderbird, a creature of immense power and majesty. Its wings were so vast they could block out the sun, and with every beat they created the thunder that echoed across the mountains and valleys. Its eyes flashed with the power of lightning, a symbol of its divine nature. The Thunderbird was not a god to be feared, but a guardian, a protector of the natural balance. It watched over the land and its people, ensuring the cycle of life continued unbroken. The people, in turn, revered the Thunderbird. They saw its presence in the storm clouds as a sign of strength and vitality. They offered prayers and songs, not out of obligation, but out of a deep, heartfelt respect for the spirit that watched over their world. But as seasons turned to centuries, a shadow began to creep over the land. Humanity grew, and with that growth came a forgetting. The people began to take more than they needed. The forests were cleared without thought for regrowth. The rivers were dirted, and the animals were hunted, not just for sustenance, but for sport and for greed. The delicate balance that the Thunderbird had guarded for so long began to fracture. The songs of respect turned into whispers, and soon even those whispers faded into silence. The people had turned their backs on the old ways, their hearts growing hard, and their eyes blind to the suffering of the earth. They no longer saw the spirit in the trees, or heard the wisdom in the wind. They saw only resources to be exploited. From its perch, high above the world, the Thunderbird watched this unfold, and a great sorrow filled its ancient heart. It saw the parched earth crack and bleed. It saw the animals wander, lost and hungry, through barren lands that once provided endless bounty. It saw the spirits of the trees weep as their brethren fell to the axe. The world was crying out in pain, and its cries reached the mighty spirit of the sky. The Thunderbird, the great protector, felt a pain deeper than any physical wound. It was the pain of a parent watching a child destroy a precious gift. The harmony was broken, the sacred connection severed. The laughter of the streams was replaced by a choked silence, and the vibrant green of the plains faded to a dusty, lifeless brown. One day, the Thunderbird could bear the silence no longer. The world below had become a mirror of its own grief. It let out a cry, but it was not the mighty roar of thunder that shook the heavens. It was a cry of pure, unadulterated sorrow. And as it cried, tears began to fall from its lightning-bright eyes. These were no ordinary tears. Each one was a drop of immense spiritual power, filled with the Thunderbird's grief for the dying world. They fell from the heavens not as a raging storm, but as a gentle, cleansing rain. They were the tears of a spirit mourning the loss of balance, the loss of respect, the loss of connection. The sky, once a brilliant blue, turned a somber gray, weeping along with its guardian. This was not a storm of anger, but a storm of heartbreak. Down below, a tribe lived on the edge of despair. For many seasons, no rain had fallen. Their lands were gripped by a relentless drought. The river that had been their lifeblood was now a cracked, muddy scar on the face of the earth. Their crops had withered and died, the soil turning to dust that the wind carried away. The hunters returned with empty hands, the animals having fled or perished. The children were weak, their laughter silenced by hunger, and the elders looked to the sky with hollow eyes, their prayers seemingly unanswered. They had forgotten the Thunderbird. They had forgotten the spirits of the land. In their struggle for survival, they had become disconnected from the very forces that gave them life. Their faith had dried up just like their river. They felt abandoned, alone in a world that had turned against them. Then, one day, the first drop fell. It landed on the cheek of a young girl looking up at the sky, a single, cool drop on her sunburnt skin. Then another and another. Soon, a soft, steady rain began to fall upon the parched land. The people emerged from their lodges, confused at first, then overcome with a joy they hadn't felt in years. They lifted their faces to the sky, letting the rain wash away the dust and the despair. But this was no ordinary rain. As it touched the ground, something miraculous happened. The cracked earth seemed to sigh in relief, drinking in the moisture. Tiny green shoots, long dormant, began to push their way through the soil almost instantly. The rain wasn't just water. It felt alive, imbued with a gentle, healing energy. The elders of the tribe, their memories stirred by the strange, sacred feel of the rain, understood. This was not a gift from the weather. This was a gift from a grieving spirit. They looked at the tears falling from the sky and saw not just water, but the sorrow of the Thunderbird. In that moment of shared vulnerability, something shifted within the hearts of the people. They saw the world not as a collection of things, but as a living, breathing entity capable of feeling pain. They saw the rain as the Thunderbird's tears, and they understood that the spirit world was mourning with them and for them. Their own suffering had blinded them, but the Thunderbird's sorrow opened their eyes. A wave of compassion washed over them, a deep empathy for the suffering they had caused. They remembered the old songs, the prayers of gratitude, the respect for every rock, river, and living creature. They realized their disconnection from nature was a disconnection from themselves. The drought was not just in the land, it was in their souls. They fell to their knees, not in supplication for more, but in apology. Their own tears mixing with the Thunderbird's on the newly softened earth. As the people's hearts reopened, the rain continued to fall, washing away the dust of neglect and restoring life. The riverbed began to fill, first with a trickle, then a stream, then a flowing current that sang its old, forgotten song. The withered plants drank deeply and stood tall, their leaves unfurling in a vibrant display of green. The animals, sensing the return of life, slowly began to reappear at the edges of the forest. The land was being reborn, and with it, the tribe's spirit. The rain was more than just physical nourishment for the earth. It was spiritual nourishment for the people. It restored not just their crops and their river, but their faith. They learned that day that the spirits were not distant gods to be appeased, but kin connected to them in a sacred dance of giving and receiving. Their renewed compassion for the spirit world was the key that unlocked the healing of their land. The legend of the Thunderbird's tears has been passed down through countless generations, a powerful reminder of our place in the world. It's a story about the consequences of disconnection, but more importantly, it's a story about the incredible power of emotional strength and renewal. The Thunderbird's sorrow was not a sign of weakness, but of profound love and empathy. Its tears were not destructive, but creative and healing. The story teaches us that true strength isn't about hardening our hearts, but about allowing ourselves to feel, to grieve, and to connect with the world around us. The renewal of the land was a direct result of the renewal of the people's spirit. It teaches that our own healing is intrinsically linked to the healing of the earth. When we honor and care for our world, we are also honoring and caring for the deepest parts of ourselves. Today, in our modern world, the earth is crying out once more. We face our own droughts, our own barren lands, both literally and spiritually. The story of the Thunderbird is not just an ancient myth. It is a timeless allegory for our current predicament. It calls on us to listen to the thunder, not with fear, but with an open heart. To see the rain not just as weather, but as a reminder of the planet's capacity for life and our responsibility to protect it. It asks us to find the courage to feel sorrow for what has been lost, and to let that sorrow transform into compassion and action. The legend symbolizes that even after periods of great hardship and neglect, renewal is always possible. The land can heal, and so can our relationship with it. It all begins when we have the courage to listen, to feel, and to shed a tear for the earth, just as the mighty Thunderbird did. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of a beautiful and powerful legend. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales that connect us to the ancient wisdom of the world. What did this story make you feel? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and stay connected.